While millions of Americans tune in every evening to watch Bret Baier deliver the day's most important news from behind the Fox News anchor desk, few realize the personal devastation this veteran journalist has carried for nearly 2 decades. A newborn son born with a walnut-sized heart pumping blood the wrong way. 5 open-heart surgeries before his teenage years. A car crash in Montana that left the entire family trapped upside down in a frozen ditch. The sudden loss of the father who shaped everything Bret became. And perhaps most painful of all, leaked text messages that would shatter his carefully built reputation as one of television's most fair-minded reporters. This is the story of a man who spent his career delivering hard truths to America, only to face truths in his own life that no journalism school could have prepared him for. The year 2007 should have been nothing but triumph for Bret Baier. Fox News had just named him the network's White House correspondent, a prestigious position covering the Bush administration. His career trajectory pointed straight up. But as Bret was reaching professional heights he had worked years to achieve, his personal world was about to shatter in a hospital delivery room. Amy Baier gave birth to their first son that year, a baby they named Paul. The delivery itself went smoothly. No complications, no warning signs. Just another healthy baby entering the world, or so it seemed. Shortly after birth, one of the nurses noticed something troubling. The infant appeared pale, his color not quite right. What followed was every parent's nightmare unfolding in real time. Medical tests revealed a devastating diagnosis. Paul had been born with 5 congenital heart defects. His tiny heart, no bigger than a walnut, was pumping blood the wrong way through his body. The defects were severe enough that doctors delivered news no parent wants to hear: their newborn son would need open-heart surgery within days. There was a very real possibility Paul might not survive to come home with his parents. Bret and Amy were Catholic, raised with deep faith, but nothing prepares you for watching your newborn son wheeled into an operating room. The couple leaned heavily on prayer during those terrifying first days. Bret would later describe his thinking during this time, expressing his belief that a loving God had a bigger plan for Paul and for their family. But in those early moments, faith and fear existed side by side. Paul underwent his first open-heart surgery as a newborn. The procedure was successful, but it was only the beginning of a medical journey that would define the Baier family for years to come. Over the following years, Paul would face 4 additional open-heart surgeries. Between the major operations came 10 angioplasties, medical procedures designed to keep his compromised cardiovascular system functioning. Each surgery carried life-threatening risks. Each recovery period brought its own challenges. The Baiers developed coping mechanisms to survive the constant hospitalizations. They created a family mantra they would repeat during the darkest moments: "We're one day closer to getting Paul home." It became their anchor, a way to measure progress. When the road ahead seemed impossibly long, even when home felt far away, they could see the light at the end of the tunnel, however distant it might be. In 2014, 7 years into their journey with Paul's heart condition, Bret made the decision to share their story with the world. He published a memoir titled Special Heart: A Journey of Faith, Hope, Courage, and Love. The book chronicled every terrifying moment of Paul's medical journey, giving readers an unflinching look at what families facing congenital heart disease endure. Bret wrote candidly about the strain Paul's condition placed on his marriage to Amy, the fears that kept him awake at night, and the faith that sustained him through the worst moments. The book served a dual purpose. It helped other families navigating similar diagnoses feel less alone, and it directed all proceeds toward congenital heart disease research. During this time, Bret received crucial emotional support from an unlikely source. Brit Hume, the legendary Fox News anchor Bret had replaced on Special Report, had experienced his own family tragedy when his adult son died by suicide. Hume understood grief and fear in ways most colleagues couldn't. He counseled Bret during the early days of Paul's health crisis, offering perspective that proved invaluable. "It's going to get better," Hume told him. "You have to trust in God and the doctors and put it in God's hands." As Paul grew, the Baiers worked hard to maintain normalcy. When their second son, Daniel, arrived in 2010, they became conscious of ensuring both boys felt equally loved and supported. There was always a risk that Daniel might feel overlooked with so much attention focused on his older brother's health, but the brothers developed a close bond. And Paul, despite everything, was determined to live as normal a life as possible. But the family's trials were far from over. In 2019, a family vacation to Montana was meant to be exactly what they needed, a chance to hit the slopes, breathe mountain air, and momentarily forget about cardiac monitoring and hospital visits. Paul's health had been relatively stable. The family could finally relax, or so they thought. The ski trip itself went wonderfully. The boys enjoyed the slopes. Bret and Amy got some much-needed time to decompress. As the vacation drew to a close, the family piled into their vehicle for the drive to the airport. Nobody could have predicted what would happen next on that Montana road. The vehicle hit an icy patch. Bret lost control. Before anyone could fully process what was happening, they collided with a truck. The impact sent their SUV careening off the road. The vehicle flipped, landing completely upside down in a roadside ditch. For a moment, there was only silence and the creaking of metal. Then came the realization that they were all still alive. A passing motorist witnessed the crash and immediately stopped to help. Emergency responders arrived and rushed everyone to the nearest hospital for evaluation. For a family already intimately familiar with hospital rooms and medical examinations, the irony of the situation wasn't lost. They'd come to Montana to escape medical concerns only to end up right back in a hospital. The damage assessment revealed remarkable luck. Bret suffered a concussion. One family member required 14 stitches on their chin. Another had a jostled tooth that would need dental attention. A sprained ankle rounded out the list of injuries. Miraculously, no one sustained life-threatening trauma. They were, as Bret would later describe it, banged up, but alive. Bret released a public statement praising the first responders and the Good Samaritan who'd stopped to help. But it was his personal reflections shared on social media that revealed how deeply the accident affected him. Every day is a blessing and family is everything. It's always good to remind yourself of that before something does it for you. Just months later, in 2020, Bret's phone rang with news that would bring a different kind of pain. His father had been diagnosed with cancer. The disease progressed quickly. Within months of the diagnosis, Bret traveled to be with his father, and the entire family gathered for his passing. Bret later expressed gratitude that his father didn't suffer long and that everyone who loved him got to say goodbye. The loss hit Bret harder than he'd anticipated. In a Market Watch interview just 3 years earlier, he had discussed how profoundly his father had shaped his work ethic. From the teenage landscaping business Bret had run to the way he approached his job as a news anchor, his father's influence ran through everything. The lessons about hard work, integrity, and dedication came directly from watching his father live those values daily. The online community offered an outpouring of support when Bret announced his father's passing, but no amount of messages could fill the hole left by losing the man who'd been integral to who Bret became. As Bret mourned his father and continued managing Paul's ongoing health needs, he had no idea that his professional world was about to explode. The aftermath of the 2020 presidential election created chaos throughout American media and politics. Donald Trump refused to concede defeat to Joe Biden, claiming widespread election fraud. Conservative media personalities amplified these claims, targeting Dominion voting systems, a company manufacturing electronic voting equipment used across the country. Fox News, Bret's employer, became one of the loudest amplifiers of these claims. Multiple Fox News personalities routinely pushed unsubstantiated statements about Dominion's machines, suggesting votes had been switched from Trump to Biden. The allegations lacked evidence, but spread rapidly. Dominion filed a $1.6 billion defamation lawsuit against Fox News. The lawsuit triggered extensive discovery proceedings. Bret found himself questioned and investigated as part of the case. Text messages between Fox News personalities were subpoenaed, revealing internal communications scrutinized in unprecedented detail. For Bret, the real tragedy went beyond the lawsuit itself. As Fox News pushed farther right in the wake of Trump's loss, Bret found himself increasingly isolated. He had built his career on measured, fact-based reporting. He had earned respect across the political spectrum for his fairness. But now he watched his network abandon those principles to appease its audience. Bret made a decision that demonstrated where his priorities lay. He pitched a special episode that would systematically examine and debunk the election fraud claims spreading through conservative media. The special would show Fox News taking voter concerns seriously while still prioritizing facts over feelings, a moment of journalistic integrity, proof that the network could balance serving its audience with serving the truth. Bret submitted the proposal and waited for a response. He never got one. The special was never made, his pitch never even answered. As the Dominion case proceeded, Fox News fought to keep internal communications private. But eventually, some of those messages leaked. The Daily Beast obtained text messages between Bret and Tucker Carlson, one of the network's biggest stars. What those texts revealed would change how many people viewed Bret Baier forever. They showed Bret discussing Fox News' decision-making around calling election results, revealing the intense pressure from Trump supporters. More damaging still, Bret wrote that he was personally pressing network decision-makers to slow down their election calls. In one message, he stated he had pressed them to slow things down and predicted they would slow-walk calling Nevada for Biden. The texts proved prophetic. Fox News became the last major network to officially call the election for Joe Biden, holding out long after other news organizations. Before the texts leaked, Bret had largely avoided speculation about his motivations during the 2020 election. His reputation as an even-handed journalist had protected him from the worst criticism directed at Fox News. But the leaked messages dealt a devastating blow. Documentary evidence suggested Bret had allowed political considerations to influence news judgment. The man who had built his career on objectivity appeared to have compromised his own standards to appease an angry audience. In the end, Fox News settled the Dominion lawsuit for $787.5 million, one of the largest defamation settlements in American media history. The network released a statement acknowledging that certain claims about Dominion had been false. But the damage to Fox News's credibility, and to Bret's personal reputation, couldn't be undone with a settlement check. Questions about Bret's integrity and journalistic standards followed him relentlessly. Social media was unforgiving. Former colleagues, political commentators, and viewers debated his role in the network's decision-making. For journalists, few accusations cut deeper than the suggestion that politics had overridden facts. Yet, even as his professional world crumbled, Bret's personal life demanded every ounce of strength he had left. Paul's battle with his heart condition continued, and the family's mission to help others facing similar struggles drove them forward. Even as controversy swirled around Bret's career, the Baiers became major figures in the pediatric cardiology community. Bret and Amy established themselves as leading voices in the Children's National Hospital Foundation in Washington, D.C., where Paul had received most of his treatment. Bret leveraged his public platform to raise awareness and funds, generating over $1 million for the hospital through charity events and fundraising initiatives. Amy joined the foundation's board, taking an active role in shaping the organization's priorities. In 2023, the couple made their most significant financial commitment yet. They donated $1 million to Children's National Hospital specifically to establish the Baier Family Congenital Heart Disease Research Program. The program focuses on advancing treatment options for the condition affecting nearly 1% of all births in America. For the Baiers, it represented a way to transform their family's pain into purpose, ensuring future families might face better outcomes than they had. Meanwhile, Paul continued to defy expectations. Despite ongoing medical challenges, he refused to let his condition define his limitations. He joined his high school's varsity golf team, spending hours on the course perfecting his swing. He also played varsity tennis, pushing his body in ways that might have seemed impossible given his medical history. The Baiers worked hard to ensure both Paul and younger brother Daniel felt equally loved and supported, conscious not to let Paul's health needs overshadow Daniel's own journey through adolescence. Then came May 2024, and a discovery that reminded everyone how precarious Paul's situation remained. A routine chest X-ray, the kind Paul had undergone dozens of times before, revealed something chilling. Doctors identified a life-threatening aneurysm near Paul's heart. The 16-year-old had displayed absolutely no symptoms. Had the aneurysm gone undetected, it could have ruptured at any moment, almost certainly killing him. Bret called the discovery divine intervention. The odds of catching an asymptomatic aneurysm during a routine screening bordered on miraculous. Paul underwent his 5th open-heart surgery to repair the aneurysm. The operation, as complex and risky as any he'd undergone, proved successful. Just 5 days later, he was discharged to continue his recovery at home. Throughout their journey, the Baiers remained committed to openness about their experiences. They understood that sharing their story helped other families navigating similar diagnoses feel less alone. Bret used his position at Fox News to interview medical experts about congenital heart disease, educating viewers about warning signs and the importance of early screening. He featured other families dealing with CHD diagnosis, giving them a platform to share their own stories of survival and struggle. The message the Baiers consistently shared centered on hope and perspective. As hard as things might seem in the moment, there is always reason to believe things will improve. Trust in the medical professionals. Lean on your faith if you have it. Hold tight to your family. Take things one day at a time because tomorrow isn't promised, but it also isn't predetermined. Today, Bret Baier continues anchoring Special Report each evening, delivering news to millions of Fox News viewers. But he has fundamentally changed from the ambitious young journalist who joined the network back in 1998. The years of medical crisis, personal losses, and professional controversies have reshaped his understanding of what matters. Paul, now approaching adulthood, requires ongoing cardiac care for the rest of his life. His doctors can't predict exactly what the future holds. There will likely be more procedures, possibly more surgeries. The aneurysm scare of 2024 proved that danger still lurks in ways that can't always be anticipated. But Paul has survived to 16 years old, thrived despite his condition, and built a life filled with sports, friends, and normal teenage experiences. For the Baiers, that's more than they dared hope for during those terrifying first days in the hospital. Bret now speaks often about the importance of gratitude, about being thankful for everything you have in every moment. The professional setbacks, while painful and embarrassing, pale in comparison to nearly losing his son repeatedly over the years. The leaked texts damaged his reputation, but his son is still alive. The Dominion scandal tarnished Fox News, but his family survived a car crash that could have killed them all. Perspective, Bret learned, changes everything about how you process both triumph and tragedy. The car accident that flipped their vehicle upside down in Montana served as another brutal reminder of how quickly everything can change. One moment you're driving to an airport thinking about your normal life. The next, you're hanging upside down in a ditch, wondering if everyone's okay. You can't control when ice appears on a road. You can't control when a baby is born with heart defects. You can't control when text messages leak or when your father gets diagnosed with cancer. But you can control how you respond. You can choose gratitude over bitterness. You can choose purpose over despair. For a man who spent decades reporting on other people's tragedies and triumphs, analyzing political wins and losses, covering the rise and fall of public figures, Bret Baier has discovered that his greatest story isn't one he delivers from the anchor desk. It's the one he lives every day when the cameras shut off and he goes home to a family that survived more than most people can imagine. It's found in the sound of Paul's heartbeat, still going strong after 5 open-heart surgeries. It's visible in the bond between two brothers who've learned that medical challenges don't define a childhood. It's present in every grateful breath the family takes, knowing how close they've come to losing everything multiple times. The professional controversies will fade. The Dominion scandal will become a footnote in cable news history. The leaked texts will be forgotten as new controversies emerge. But Paul's heart will keep beating. And the Baier family will keep waking up each day choosing gratitude over fear, purpose over paralysis, and believing that even the hardest journeys can lead somewhere meaningful if you refuse to give up hope. Through every surgery, every hospital stay, every sleepless night, Bret and Amy's faith was tested in ways that no prayer could fully prepare them for. There were moments when doubt crept in, when fear threatened to drown hope. But in those moments, Bret would lean on Amy, on friends, and on their shared Catholic faith. He began to see that faith was not simply about expecting miracles, but about finding the courage to endure the impossible. Every procedure Paul survived became proof that perseverance and belief in something larger than themselves could carry them through. The Baiers became advocates not just for medical awareness, but for the power of resilience and spiritual strength. Their story reached families struggling silently, offering a lifeline of hope and a blueprint for navigating unthinkable challenges. Raising a child with severe congenital heart defects tested the Baiers' marriage in ways few could understand. Every hospitalization meant time away from Daniel, their younger son. Every medical emergency caused tension, worry, and moments of guilt. Bret and Amy had to consciously carve out moments for each other, and for their marriage. They learned to communicate openly about fears, frustrations, and hopes. Their mantra, "We're one day closer to getting Paul home," extended beyond hospital stays. It became a guiding principle for maintaining family cohesion, love, and understanding. Meanwhile, Bret's career continued at Fox News.